Jimmy Carter, running for President of the United States, is in Seattle addressing a convention of the American Legion. Now, this is a group of men and women who have served their country faithfully. Several of them have either mental, physical, or emotional scars from their service, some all three. They come actually wearing their uniforms, strong patriots, and some strong ideas on what's important in serving their country. As Jimmy Carter addresses this group, he says that he has 21 points that he would like to make with them today. Then he begins down his long list of points. And he talks about better health coverage for veterans, which of course receives great applause. He then comes to a point that is this: my first act as President of the United States will be to pardon all draft dodgers so that this nation can heal. Now, this audience stood on their feet and began booing and jeering for the next 3 minutes. There's much we can learn from Jimmy Carter's experience in front of the American Legion as a presentation to win their vote. One of which, it's good to know your audience and certainly what some of their biases might be as you address them. But I wonder how you felt when you heard me say, I have 21 points I want to cover with you today. That is a lot of points. In fact, most people start to shut down, knowing that that's too much, and my mind is already fatigued. And notice that we hadn't even started the presentation yet. Remember that the presentation isn't about you, it's about the mindset of your audience and what it is that they can absorb and handle. There is some power in simplicity. We want to have just the right number of points. So what is that number? What is too many points that I should cover in my presentation? Some would say, well, Bill, I have a lot of time, so I can cover a lot of points. Not so. Time does not influence the number of points we take, but just how much we can develop each of those points. So what's the right number? Well, Aristotle, in about 350 BC, really gave this point across the best when he introduced to us 3 forms of proof. In other words, 3 points seems to be the right number. Let's replay Jimmy Carter again and say, if he stood in front of the group and said, I have 3 points that I want to cover with you today instead of 21. Would that have made a difference for you as a listener? He could have covered the same amount of information, just grouped them into 3 bigger topics. So let's take a look at the power of 3. The other important piece of only having 3 pieces to remember in your presentation, not only is it easier for your audience to follow and understand and retain, but as you as a presenter, how easy is it for you to remember the 3 points you want to cover? If I'm doing 21, I can get lost in my count. Number 10, and then pretty soon someone's raising their hand saying, well, I'm on number 9. Another one says, no, I'm on 13, and now you've lost your audience once more. So we keep it simple. Power and simplicity. There is also a greater chance of retention when we only have 3 things to remember. As an audience member, I can say, I remember 3 things. We talked about A, B, and C. The other piece of helping with retention is that once we have the 3 points identified, is there a logical sequence and order that they would follow into? How many of us have sat in meetings and had a laundry list of points that were being discussed, and they never had any forethought of which order they would go in, and we walked out really only with 1 or 2 that we retained? Watch what sequencing can do. If, for example, I were to hand you a sheet of paper with, let's say, 30 different words on it, just scrambled on the sheet, and gave you 30 seconds to memorize those words, how many would you be able to retain in 30 seconds? Could you write down 8 of them? 18? 28? Most numbers fall to the low end. I give you that same sheet of paper with those same 30 words, only now those words are grouped according to likenesses and in a logical order and fashion with each group. How easier is it for you to retain that information? The numbers jump huge. That's what we want in our presentation. Remember that the harder you make your audience work to understand, the less they will listen. So is there a natural flow to the information? Can I do it topically? So I look at my 3 points. Topically would be really my thought. Which one's most important? I want to cover that first, or would I cover that third? Is there a chronological order or a timeline to it? So I talk about point 1 first, and point 2 is a logical sequence and follow, and point 3 then is the conclusion. Or is there even a problem solution? Do I address the problem, its consequences, and the solution and the outcomes? The easier I make that a natural, logical flow, the greater the retention, certainly, of my audience. So in the body of the presentation, where you are your subject matter expert and where persuasion is at its greatest with all the statistics and the supports and the facts and the analysis and the stories that you can bring, depending on the time, to support your point, this is where the success certainly will be with your presentation. So let's remember 3 points, the power of 3, great organization, and the right supports, and have a great presentation.